Children, in the last class we did, about the women. Now, I asked you to put the heading, Limits of the CDM. Now, in Nationalism of India, part 14, we are going to deal with two very, very important topics, aspects of the civil disobedience movement. And the aspects we are going to deal with, children, first is the Dalits. Okay, now Dalits are a community which children, they are treated as the lowest of lowest caste in our country. And Gandhiji, he was one person who said that if we do not bring each and every person to be united, and we do not bring them into our, fight for freedom or fight against the British, we can never achieve anything. Now, in those days, not that the caste system is less today. Caste system is not less today. Caste system is still very, very strong today, children. So what happens is, in this caste system, children, what we find is the Dalits are treated in an inhuman manner. They're not allowed to enter, any religious places where the other people, enter, maybe hotels, restaurants, etc. Not allowed to collect water from the village well also. And children, they're treated very badly. You know what Gandhi did? Gandhi literally went and lived in the Harijan colonies. He gave them the name of Harijan, meaning children of God. He called them children of God. Gandhiji went to live in them, even with them. He swept the roads along with them. He even, children, cleaned the toilets, because in those days, they didn't have flush toilets like we have. They didn't even have Harpic or Sanifresh or some kind of, disinfectant to disinfect the toilets. They didn't have all that. And you can imagine what his pathetic condition was. But Gandhi worked with the Harijans to show that, if we do any work, we don't become big or small, and it doesn't affect us in any way. Our work does not affect us in any way. We are still human beings, flesh, blood, and bones. But Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he knew that, the common Hindu mass is not going to accept on an equal term the Dalits in their community. And so what he said is, give me a separate electorate. Now, what is an electorate? An electorate is an area that from this particular area, only a Dalit will be able to stand up for elections and win the election. Oh, and the British said yes, 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 because the British were very happy. Today Dalits won, tomorrow somebody else will win. And the whole of India will be, divided into parts. Because that was the policy of the British, divide and rule. Now Gandhi was disturbed. He said, no, today they are, asking for separation, and tomorrow another community will ask. So Gandhi went on a fast to death. Now, B.R. Ambedkar, was troubled over this fact, and he decided, okay, let's have a meeting with Gandhi. Now, this meeting with Gandhi by B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhi, it is called as children, it is known as Pune Pact. Now, please remember, Gandhi-Irvin Pact. That's a different pact. That's between Gandhi and Lord Irwin regarding coming to England for the Round Table Conference and calling off the CDM. Pune Pact between Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar. Now, Gandhi and Ambedkar, what did they say? Gandhi told Ambedkar Don't ask for separate electorates, right? You stand in elections and I will give you separate seats. Like, children, it will be like this. Suppose Gandhi said, I'll give you 50 seats, right? And you stand in elections, but you win 60. Fine, that's your good luck. But if you win 48, you nominate 2 people because you will get your full quota of 50. B.R. Ambedkar was very satisfied and he said, fine. And the problem was solved. Reservation of seats, but not a separate electorate. Now, beta, Muhammad Ali Jinnah of the Muslim League Party, he said, if a Hindu does not recognize a Hindu, one caste doesn't recognize the other caste, then why will they recognize us? We don't belong to their religion. So what he did was, he said, if you are giving them electorates, well, you give us also separate electorates. Now, Gandhi said, see, today the Dalits are asking, now the Muslims are asking, oh, we're going to divide our country into parts. So what he said was, no electorates, but the same way, I will give you reservation of seats. This is fine, give me reservation of seats. And children, they said that this good news that, we are going to get reservation of seats. This good news we will announce at the All India Party meeting. All the parties of India want to have a meeting. And at that meeting, we will discuss and we will, give this good news to the people. And before that, only M.R. Jayakar. Note the name, children. M.R. Jayakar of the Hindu Mahasabha. He made a statement that we will not compromise with the Muslims on any condition. Now, Jinnah said, if this is the condition before independence, what will be the state of the Muslims after independence? So now, I don't want a separate electorate. We want the separate country of Pakistan. And that is how, children, the concept of a two-nation theory, dividing India into two nations, India and Pakistan. That was how it came about. Children, in history, you are always taught that Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted the formation of Pakistan. Children, it was decided that they would get separate, they would get a reservation of seats. But when M.R. Jayakar, he is the person responsible. He is the person who is actually responsible for the two-nation theory. But I'm sure you're hearing his name for the first time today. It's in your textbook. You're hearing his name for the first time today. So children, then they said, if this is the attitude of the general public, then we want to be separated totally from India. And that's how we came about with India and Pakistan. Both the countries got their independence at midnight, that is, 12 sharp night. So Pakistan celebrates it on 14th, we celebrate it on 15th. So now, children, and we take down, put the heading, limits of the CDM. Limits of the CDM. Children, I noticed there are a couple of you with your videos off. Kindly switch on your videos, children. Now, the next heading you put, children, untouchables. Amit Kumar Bishnoi, will you please switch on your video? Untouchables. Now, for a long time, the Congress ignored the Dalits. The Congress ignored the Dalits for the fear of offending, the conservative high caste Hindus. For fear of offending the conservative high caste Hindus. But Gandhi declared that Swaraj would not come. But Gandhi declared that Swaraj would not come unless untouchability was eliminated. Unless untouchability was eliminated. He called them Harijans. He called them Harijans or children of God, or children of God. Gandhi organized satyagrahas. Gandhi organized satyagrahas to secure them entry into temples and access to public wells public wells, tanks, schools, etc. Tanks, schools, etc. Gandhi cleaned toilets to dignify their work. Gandhi cleaned toilets to dignify their work. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, will you please highlight the word? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar organized the Dalits, into highlight depressed class association, depressed class association in 1930. In 1930. He clashed with Gandhi. He clashed with Gandhi at the second round table conference. At the second round table conference. By demanding separate electorates for Dalits. By demanding separate electorates for Dalits. Next paragraph. When the British agreed Gandhi began a fast to death. Gandhi began a fast to death. Ambedkar ultimately accepted Gandhi's proposal and the result was, children please highlight, Pune Pact of September 1932. Pune Pact of September 1932. Which gave the which gave the Dalits reserved seats in the provisional and central legislative councils, provisional and central legislative council, but they were to be voted by the general electorate. Now put the next heading, Muslims. Large sections of Muslims felt alienated from the Congress. Relations between Hindus and Muslims worsened, worsened, worsened. The Congress and the Muslim League, excuse me, the Congress and the Muslim League made efforts to solve the problem. The important difference was over the question of representation in the future assemblies that were to be elected. Children say they were worried, the Muslims, that in the future, how many seats would be there for the Muslims in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, so that their community could be represented in the government. That was their main concern, Because students see Hindus comprise of 80% of the population, and their community was a very, very small community. So they wanted that they should have some representation in the government in the future. Now, Jinha was willing to give up Jinha was willing to give up the demand for separate electorates the demand for separate electorates if Muslims were assured if Muslims were assured reserved seats in the Central Assembly and representation in proportion and representation in proportion to population in Muslim dominated provinces of Bengal and Punjab. Now, however, all hope of resolving the problem at the all-party meeting in 1928 disappeared. When, please highlight, M.R. Jayakar. Of the Hindu Mahasabha strongly opposed effort Now, we end here. Now, in the next class, Peter, what we're going to deal with, what are the things, that were required to bring India, into a feeling of collectiveness, how to develop a nationalistic feeling in India. Now, that is what we're going to discuss in the next class. Now, till I take your attendance, so don't leave the class yet. Happy Thursday. ये भी अटेंडेंस लेना ये करना वो अटेंडेंस नहीं मैंने कहा ये भी एक प्रॉब्लम है